these people, but I'd never kill them.
British rock royalty get their long-awaited biopic. Michael Moore's back with a documentary for turbulent times in politics, and 90 years young and still just as sprightly, Mickey Mouse is celebrating a birthday. Now, to tell us more, film critic Lisa Nesselson joins us. Hi, Lisa.
Hello there.
We're starting with a biopic that has been a long time in the making. Bohemian Rhapsody, you've guessed it, it's about the 1970s and 80s rock band Queen. When it opened in the UK, some of the reviewers were not so kind, with headlines like, "Another one bites the dust and it will not rock you." Would you agree?
Well, that's fine, but did you see the rave in the dental publication Prominent Overbite Monthly? I'm not being mean here, because Freddie Mercury actually claimed to have been born with 4 extra incisors, giving him a broader vocal range. Now, when somebody says Freddie Mercury, do you think, oh yeah, that's that guy whose real name was Farrokh Bulsara, whose family were persecuted conservative Zoroastrians who fled Zanzibar for England with just the clothes on their backs, and who started out as a baggage handler at Heathrow? Or do you think, that's the strutting, incredibly charismatic lead singer for Queen with the amazing pipes and the distinctive jawline? Did I like it? Here's a hint. Looking for a film with your time and your money, with the grand performance at its juicy core. Big screen over there, why should you care? 'Cause streaming on a little screen wouldn't be fair. You should see it. I'm saying you should see it.
Rousing rendition. Well, indeed, we should see it. Here's a clip.
Imagine thousands of people doing this in unison. Huh? Well,
what's the lyric?
So satire star Sacha Baron Cohen was originally meant to play Freddie Mercury, but he left the project over creative differences. Now, even though those who've given the lukewarm reviews to this film do agree that Rami Malek gives an amazing performance, what do you think?
Oh, he's absolutely terrific. I mean, his incarnation of Mercury is unsettling even all these years later. He transmits the ways in which Mercury was provocative, bold, unapologetically swishy, conflicted, and very, very ambitious and very, very talented. Freddie Mercury, I think it's worth pointing out, in these days of increasing knee-jerk nationalism, was an immigrant. In the film, he repeatedly gets mistaken for somebody from Pakistan and called the derogatory term Paki, but even if those ignorant jerks knew Mercury's real background, I'm not sure, hey, Zanzi, as in Zanzibar, actually is an insult. How many other people of Indian Parsi heritage played an epic set at the Live Aid charity concert in July of 1985 with, 1.5 billion people watching? The recreation of that concert in the film is dazzling. We mix genres and cross boundaries, Mercury tells head honcho Ray Foster at EMI Records, amusingly played by Mike Myers, unrecognizable, who doesn't want to release the song Bohemian Rhapsody because it's 6 minutes long, and radio stations to which Queen paid an affectionate tribute in the song Radio Gaga wouldn't play anything longer than 3 minutes. And if you don't think you're interested in Mercury, but you happen to be a cat person, Freddie bought a sprawling mansion with a dedicated room for each of his beloved kitty cats.
Truly eccentric.
I gave my 2 cents. I hope you'll agree to venture forth to see Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a deftly told story of a conflicted lad. It's got music, emotion, clothing, and hair. What could be bad?
And fantastic singing. Thank you, Lisa, for that. Well, from massively successful rock music of the past century to something more current, political turmoil in the US, Michael Moore is back with a new documentary. He won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival in 2004 with Fahrenheit 9/11. This new film is called Fahrenheit 11/9. Tell us about that reference.
Well, that's an excellent title I wish he had not been able to use, because it refers, of course, to the fateful date when Donald Trump became become the president-elect of the United States. Moore's post-September 11th doc remains the highest-grossing documentary of all time, and I wish everybody who bought a ticket to that film and is still alive would make a point of seeing this new one. Now, here in France, it is only available in VOD form, video on demand, so if you're in France, you should demand it as soon as possible. And if you're in a country where this doc is in theaters, please go buy a ticket just as soon as you finish watching France 24. Let's take a look.
How the did this happen?
The American dream is dead. Stop resisting.
The president's powers here are beyond question.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last president of the United States.
Okay, so you love this film, but there are some people who say with Michael Moore, they know what they're getting. It's always going to be the same thing. Is that a valid criticism?
Of course not. He is a fine investigative journalist, and he's spreading the blame around. While there's not much here for prospective viewers convinced that Barack Obama is a Kenya-born Muslim traitor with Satan on speed dial, Moore does provide irrefutable evidence of something distressingly slimy Obama did in person during a presidential visit to Moore's hometown of Flint, Michigan. And also in the film, Moore illustrates with equal parts solid research and his trademark chutzpah, how pre-war Germany, particularly Berlin, was a flourishing place. I learned that Germans, for example, had television a full 4 years before America did. Germans fell into deadly Nazism and state-sponsored genocide, while many smart people protested that rumors of such things were greatly exaggerated. Moore's message is to pay attention because it can't happen here, can very swiftly become, how did that happen?
So his message to us is that we should be more alert and be looking out for these blatant signs and symbols.
Absolutely. Here's a sample test. Are you wearing one of those red MAGA Make America Great Again caps? Guess what? It was not made in America. So as I said, he apportions the blame all over the political spectrum. He shows, however, that Trump has been, I have a list here, a crooked, dishonest, amoral, tone-deaf, terminally self-involved philanderer from day one, and that he's deeply dangerous in plain sight. But Moore continues to believe that ordinary people can bring about extraordinary positive change. See this film to find out more about how.
Okay, well, we're moving to a film from France now, something very different. Little Tickles sounds like a very pleasant title, but that's actually a sinister reference, a code word used for sexual assault. Now, the film's co-director, Andrea Bescond, won the one-woman Molière, a theatre award here in France, in 2016 for the autobiographical play that this film is based on. How has the transition from stage to screen gone, in your opinion?
It's incredibly well done. This is touching, harrowing, frequently funny, and strange as it sounds, a very satisfying movie. I don't want to give too much away because part of what is so insidious about child molestation is that most pedophiles don't wear dirty raincoats and hang around in schoolyards. They're hiding in plain sight. How could her parents imagine that their daughter was being sexually assaulted by one of their closest friends, a successful man with a family of his own? Probably the same way parents who entrusted their children to the special tutelage of certain members of the clergy couldn't ever imagine their nice cleric putting his hands where they didn't belong.
So this is potentially quite a depressing story. How is it told?
It is told with verve and pretty bottomless creativity. Andrea loves to dance and she wants to be a dancer. As an adult, she goes to a therapist to try and unravel the secret horrors that robbed her of her childhood. And when we meet her mother, played by Karine Viard, we understand what she's up against. Although the play took place on a stripped-down stage, this is definitely a film that makes very fine use of flashbacks and fantasy sequences and what-if moments. Movies really are an excellent medium for bouncing around in time, which is pretty much how memory works. And the upshot, believe it or not, really is hopeful.
Okay, good. Now, complete change of pace now. We're celebrating an important birthday. Apparently, there's a nonagenarian among us.
I hold an advanced degree from the Hi Mom Brown School of Journalism, so I assume you are referring to the fact that my mother, Isabel, will turn 91 on November 15th. But yes, there is another distinguished member of the 9-Decade Club, and his name is Mickey Mouse. Disney has announced that Mickey's 90th birthday is November 18th. I guess that was the first crayon. He has changed his appearance over the decades, but it's difficult to say whether as a mouse he actually ages. So here is one of his fans in 1958, and
looks familiar.
And 60 years later, this is how that fan looks. These ears are one of the most recognized forms in the world. France has long had its own French-language Mickey Mouse comics. Here he's just known as Mickey, without the mouse part. Walt Disney himself, whose family roots are here in France, think D''Isney, looked at his empire, the movies, the theme parks, the merchandising that I was only too happy to buy into as a 2-year-old, and he said, and to think that it all started with a mouse. 90 years ago, Mickey starred in the first animated cartoon with synchronized sound, Steamboat Willie. And in the 1920s, cartoons were far from saccharine. They could be downright surreal and irreverent.
And that one is certainly one that goes down in history. Thank you very much for that, Lisa. We'll leave you with a trippy taste of Steamboat Willie, and happy birthday, Mickey, indeed. Remember to check out our website for more movies, arts and culture. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.